Well, hello and welcome to all the Web3 enthusiasts out there. This is Max speaking, and this is a new exciting episode of Synopsis. So today I'm excited to host this one with Mitja Goroshevsky, the co-founder of Gosh. Hello, Mitja. How are you today?
Great. How are you, Max?
I'm fine also. Thank you. So today I have a bunch of questions about, of course, Gosh, about Acki Nacki, and of course about yourself a little bit. So we'll begin in a controversial order. And yeah, so to warm up, since it's your first time at Synopsis and hopefully not the last one, so could you start with a short introduction of yourself? So please tell us about your blockchain journey. So as far as I know, you were a telecom entrepreneur who went all in on Web3. So this is kind of my favorite type of story. So please tell us something you like.
Sure. Yeah, I started like long ago, more than 30 years ago. And yes, my first company was in voice over IP space, and we did. It was a telco actually. It was like one of the first voice over IP telecoms called Delta 3. Went to Nasdaq a few years later, and like was a quite successful story. That I always wanted to do something more in technology, kind of space, deeper. So I did like I started Internet Telecom was the company who did like protocol developments for voice over IP and voice compression technologies. So we did like switches for some telecom equipment and so on and so forth. Yeah, and then from that, I moved on to like distributed databases because I thought it's actually because voice over IP is a peer-to-peer technology, so it's in a way it's a close if you like look at this way. So yeah, so we did the like distributed databases, and through that, I got introduced to Bitcoin, and I kind of um, I think it was like 2010. I guess, when I read the first time the Satoshi white paper. But it was fascinating. I even wanted to mine. um, but but it wasn't that much to do apart from like mining and collecting. So like to develop something was like almost like, what are you gonna do with that? And but it was very interesting and fascinating. And later on, of course, Ethereum started, and that was already something that you could actually do. Um, build on top. Actually, even before Ethereum, it was XRP. The stuff and that because they went before Ethereum, and actually like they released the APIs. So in fact I had like a small project where I tried to build messenger that could work on top of that API. But yeah, it wasn't really decentralized technology. So yeah, something like user facing, user friendly stuff. But that was the idea. So but anyway, so Ethereum um, became like a thing. So I did some projects on Ethereum, and then I met some people, which introduced me to Pavel Durov and Ton in general. Like, and so they asked, like, okay, here's like the Pavel wants to do um, this blockchain. Like, what do you can we help? Like, what can be done? Like, how we can help this whole ecosystem once it will be there? And like I outlined the plan more or less. I like said what can be done, like yeah, developer tools, stuff like that, infrastructure, and that's how the Tone Labs started. So Tone Labs was a company that did what we did, we basically took the whole protocol stack of Ton, we implemented it in Rust. We did the full implementation of Ton virtual machine node, and then on top of that, we did the Solidity compiler for Ton, C++ compiler for Ton, and infrastructure stuff around that, like databases and what's not. So that yeah, that's how I kind of went into this part of the of the journey, and then like 4 years later, um, I realized during all this time, I realized that actually this thing and whatever we have on the blockchain currently, or then, it actually currently, it's whole truth. It's not there yet. Like it technologically wise, it's just not it's not gonna work really. It won't scale. Like even Ton, which was at that point, like by far the most scalable technology available, it wasn't still gonna scale infinitely or scale to the proportions that we kind of need if we talk about mass adoption of this thing. Right. So, and then I thought, like, what, and of course, I got introduced to Solana as well. I spoke with Anatoly. Um, but like even Solana, despite the fact that it's like it always was like really, really fast in terms of finality, or at least the perceived finality by the user, because it's not a real finality of Solana, but it still wasn't scalable because, okay, like I said, it's not going to scale. And I think it's proven to be correct, right? So then I thought, like, what can be done? What can I do? And so, and then I had this idea about this protocol that now called Acki Nacki, which was published by Springer in Nature Lectures on Computer Science last year, the paper. And this protocol is like my take on what can be done in both finality and scalability of the blockchains. So, and then I'm here.
Okay, awesome. Pretty detailed path, and thanks for that. So it all began with Ethereum and Bitcoin, but the real Kickstarter was Ton. So sounds pretty interesting. And yeah, here we come to the next question. You already, I would say, at least started answering it. So could you please specify some more reasons? Why did you actually decide to start a new blockchain network?
Yeah, as I said, because like not when we do something new in technology space, like it's called progress, right? We always try to go to the end of the possibilities. Like that's how we work, basically. And so for me, it was quite clear that this is not the end of the technological path. It's actually just the very beginning. And so that's the reason. I just think that there is no blockchain at the moment which is there, kind of there in terms of the goals fulfilled. Okay, we can say, okay, we can really use it in almost any scenario that we need this to be used. So that's the main motivation for Acki Nacki. So I just thought, okay, let's bring it to the level of the database performance, cluster database performance, or something like that, where that would be the performance that we're looking for from the blockchain if we want to create anything that we like need.
Awesome, got it. So the next question will be a pretty big one, and also a little bit about the same thing. So Acki Nacki positions itself to be the faster than any other blockchain that can ever be built. It's speaking about like there is no end technology. So how do you solve actually the blockchain trilemma of decentralization, sorry, scalability and security, and achieve subsecond finality?
Yeah, like it's like Cupp's theorem. It's like it's not real theorem. There is no mathematical impossibility here, right? It's just a state of the things today, or today or yesterday, right? When we talk about trilemma, there is no real trilemma. Like there is, of course, like technical obstacles to achieve at this moment three things at the same time, but they are due to inefficiency. They're due to inefficiency of our compute performance of our computers. It's an efficiency in our networking, and it's an efficiency in our protocols. And that's basically what the trilemma says. Like because of these inefficiencies, you can achieve all three. There is no inherent rule that says you cannot achieve all three. So how we can do that? We can improve on all of this. Like we can improve on all three. But the consensus protocol is a glue that actually like For example, if your consensus protocol has a sublinear or okay, has like suboptimal, let's say, message complexity, which it will be like, I don't know, quadratic, for example, nonlinear message complexity, then you doesn't matter how good are computers, doesn't matter how good is your connection, you won't be able to scale simply because like sooner or later you will just exhaust your resources with this exponential growth of the messages in the network. So it at the very basis of everything lies the consensus protocol. The consensus protocol message complexity is the cornerstone, the most important thing in the blockchain design. And that's where we started. Like we did the different consensus protocol. And of course, it sounds like crazy a little bit. Like we have like, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 years in consensus protocol research. How can we achieve anything like marginally better? And the truth of the matter is we can. And the thing is that like, because if you take any protocol today which people uses, only like 1 year, like for 1 year, maybe 1.5, 2 years, there are people started to talk about like the two-step protocols in terms of message complexity, like 2n basically. But if you look at all these protocols that were kind of unknowns, they're not really 2n. I'm talking about SUI, I'm talking about like Aptos, and so on. And there are reasons for that because they all try to do they try to be deterministic, meaning that they try to achieve a binary result, yes or no, on the consensus. Is consensus reached or not, right? Because that's kind of a protocols that came from BFT family, Byzantine fault tolerance. If it's too technical, just tell me, stop me at any time. So these protocols called deterministic protocols, they basically have a cap on message complexity. Like you cannot go over it if you want to have synchronicity, which basically means consensus, no forks. Right? So what we said is we said we don't need the protocol to be actually deterministic. It's okay for the protocol to be probabilistic like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a probability. Nakamoto-style consensus protocols are probabilistic. Like there is some probability that this is a correct block. There is some probability that there will be no other block which will be on the same height of the other one, right? And you have double spend in this because you can have a same transaction from the same wallet goes two different directions in two different blocks, right? So like, and by the way, all of this transaction will be correct, the first and the second one, right? So that's a double spend. So like, right, you can actually be probabilistic. And why, like I can give a very simple reason why it's okay to be probabilistic, because anyway, we're using cryptography, right? We have our keys, and the cryptography that we use in all of the blockchains is probabilistic. There's no deterministic cryptography. So so it's not a question of can we be probabilistic or not. It's a question of like, what is the probability of an attack? Once we get into this domain, because like with this cryptography, the probability of the attack is that low. Again, we can actually come up with a number. And that's what we did. So we say, okay, we will go with probabilistic protocol and let's see what we can do with a message complexity of 2n, meaning I send you a message, you respond, and that's it. And at the same time, maintaining what will be the probability of the attack. And if the probability of, if we can construct a protocol like that, the probability of the attack will be on par with the cryptography we use, then what the hell? Like, it's the same thing. Why do we need to talk about determinism in that respect, right? And that's exactly what we did. The whole paper is explaining how we do the protocol, which achieves finality in two communication steps, right? You send me, I send you the message, you send me back the message. That's it. And still maintain the probability of the attack on a very low if you want. And that is Acki Nacki. And that's why it cannot be more efficient protocols than that, because you cannot be in an interactive protocol, you cannot be more efficient than two messages.
Well,
right?
Sounds reasonable.
I hope.
Well, yeah, I would say it was super detailed and a really interesting approach, or even a philosophy at some point. So I think that a major part of viewers will have to watch this part once again. Even I think I will do the same after the stream. So yeah, thanks for that. And moving on to a little bit more interesting questions about Acki Nacki. So wanted to know who's actually the good guy who pays for transaction fees after all. So and how do you achieve free transactions for users on Acki Nacki?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I think so too.
First of all, it's not all the transactions are free, right? So, but there are some transactions are free. I'll explain the logic, like how we think about that.
Yeah, please.
When you have a network, right, you have resources that are committed already to this network. Right? There are some computing resources of validators that validate transactions, right, sending these messages and so on. So these resources already committed. You're not buying them by a processor core at a time or a virtual thread at a time. Because nobody does that. You're not buying a disk by gigabyte. Like, you're not doing this. You're buying the disk, which is 1 terabyte or whatever, 2 terabytes or 500. Like, you're buying the whole thing, right? Even if you go the cloud compute, it's very hard to buy like 535 gigabytes of disk, right?
Okay.
Nobody does that. So when you kind of start your computer in the network, you already committed certain amount of resource, you already pay for it. Right? And when you get the tokens back, kind of you expect this, you have this accounting going on where you profit and loss and all of that. So you kind of know if what is pays for these resources. And if you continue to validate, it means that it's already paid. Okay? And you already got your reward. Now, these compute resources, why people should pay extra if you already got the payment for these resources? Why people should pay extra? This resource already committed. So within these resources, we can give you these resources for free. And by the way, that's every cloud provider, almost every cloud provider on earth does the same thing. If you go to AWS today, you get the server for free. The first instance in the Elastic Cloud, you get for free. And you can use it for free unless you How do they do that? Why this model works for Amazon? And if it works for Amazon, why it cannot work for us? So I'll explain you how it works in Amazon. In Amazon, they have a bunch of servers, like a huge amount of servers already committed, guess what? But not utilized, because people are not utilizing everything that they paid for. They just, because of we said before, they don't buy per gigabyte. So there's actually a lot of committed resources which are not utilized. We can give it to you for free. And that's what Amazon is doing. And that's what we're doing. Exactly the same thing. The resources are committed, the servers are there. Why not to give it for you for free? There is no reason absolutely not to do that, because after then if your application on Acki Nacki starts to need more resources than freely available, like that means that validators will need to upgrade their machines to the next step. Then someone needs to pay for this upgrade. And here you start to pay because you already have users, exactly like on cloud machines. Like, you need to go to the next instance because you have users which utilize your database, and you need to grow. But that means also that you make some money, right? Because that's how it works. So you can pay part of that money for the scaling of your compute resources. And that's exactly what we're copying, the business model of cloud providers. We didn't invent anything here.
Awesome. Thanks for a great Amazon example. So everything seems to be more than understandable. Okay, thank you. And we are moving on a little bit more about Acki Nacki, and one of my favorite type of questions. So it's about your audience. Hopefully you have some research, some image of your user, and
I hope so too.
yeah, let's see now. So Acki Nacki user base has been big all the way since the testnet launch. And so can you tell us who are its typical users in the retail and corporate segments?
There are no corporate segments in Acki Nacki. Like, we're not targeting that audience at all. There is some applications that are developed on Acki Nacki that will target corporate users, and these are primarily green applications, like applications for the biodiversity and all of that. But this is not the user base on the testnet. The user base on the testnet is, as you call it, retailer. We don't call it that. We just call them users, partners, people who basically went on journey with us. And the typical user, I think, is enthusiast. It's someone who understands the difference, like what we're actually trying to say, who believe that it's not a scam, and that's important.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to tell you, but there's like so many examples of that, and I only can thank users who really kind of got it, who really get it, who understand what we're trying to do. And what we're trying to do is, like, bring this real technical thing which is very hard to build, I have to say, like extremely hard to build, but to actually successfully build it and launch it. And in order for us to make this community, we did a very early decision that we want this community to be involved in the network. And the best way we thought to involve someone in the network is if we can somehow make them contribute something to the network, like contribute some real thing to the network security, like if you're running a Bitcoin miner, right? If you're running Bitcoin miner, you're contributing to Bitcoin security. It's no question asked. You pay electricity doing this, right? You get some Bitcoin back. And sometimes it's payoff, sometimes it doesn't. But right, that's the model. But how we can do that with the users who the only thing they have is a mobile phone. And most of our users, that's what they can contribute. They don't have servers, they don't have miners, they don't have huge bills to pay, electricity and so on. So we thought about that and we said, okay, that's what we can do. We can take the entropy, because this is something that they can contribute a lot. It's an entropy. It's basically if we somehow can make them move fingers across the screen, we can take that entropy source and do something with this, right? And what we can do, for example, we can feed them based on this entropy. We can feed them with some small random transactions which they can validate on their phones in real time. Because we are right now in the state of mobile networking in most places in the world where the latency is not that big anymore. Like you have pretty good connections. I'm not even talking about 5G, I'm even 4G. Like it's pretty good. You can actually talk to the closest validator server within 600 milliseconds range. So you pass the message, it will take 50 to 100 milliseconds. You can do in 50, 100 milliseconds, you can do something on your phone, because again, it's a very small computational resource. You need it to be, and then pass it back to us, to the network, if everything is okay, and just tell us if that transaction is okay. Now, the point being that this actually improve certain aspects of the network security, sometimes even dramatically. If a lot of people doing that, this in fact really increase the network security. I'm not going deep in explaining why, but there is another paper that's coming, which we wrote, scientific paper, which actually high performance network using Acki Nacki probabilistic protocol. It's right now going through peer review, and that introduces real reasons why actually it's increases security. So, and we said, if we can prove that you did that, then we can take part of the block rewards and pay to you. And we went and said 22.5% of the block rewards will go to mobile verifiers. We call them mobile verifiers, people who will play the game. That's it.
Okay, cool. So I would say you are providing the gate for retail users who believe that your technology is not scam. That's important to make their actually contribution through just the resources they have right now. And yeah, if it's all got by me correctly, so it's also a great contribution from you for the mass adoption everyone is speaking about right now. So letting more people into the industry and not just showing them how to trade some shit coins or altcoins, just to provide them an opportunity to make some real contribution to be a mobile verificator. So it's sounds like a great step also to the mass adoption. So thanks for that. And yeah, at this point, I think we could move to discussing Gosh, actually. So could you please introduce this decentralized computing platform and tell us why it is revolutionary?
When you're talking about Gosh, you're talking about like what project exactly? Like you talk about Git on chain or like because Acki Nacki is the network, and that's the project we're working on right now, like almost exclusively. Gosh is a core developer of Acki Nacki. We did some development of some application called Gosh, which is Git on chain application for security. But this application is not in our focus at this moment, and it will be launched on Acki Nacki once the network launch. But first, we need to launch the network. So I don't really know what to say about the like.
Okay, maybe I was a little bit confused, or even my uh, editor assistant. So okay, so let's put this into the maybe comment section after all, and just make it. Let's pretend that it didn't happen. So now, in this case, I would like to ask the question like this. So, what's actually next for Acki Nacki? And is the development finished, or is it still iterating?
Okay, so there are actually two sides to this kind of question, and I think maybe that's what your assistant we're trying to ask is about like user application on Acki Nacki, meaning like what we are doing actually for the last like 6 to 9 months already, and that has two kind of answers. First is of course we're working on the network itself, so like we need to launch the network mainnet, and we got now some validators which we announced that purchased node licenses, because that's the way for us was to launch the network through node sale. So we did that, and we were busy to kind of refactor protocol to make it more efficient, and it's of course like there's no end to that. It's a lot of work, and because if you take our user base and just think these users, all of them, will go when the network start and just launch the wallets, that will create already like hundreds of thousands of transactions per second instantly. So like we cannot launch the network just with like insufficient resources, because then like it will just defeat the point. Like the whole like thing we're saying, Acki Nacki is the fastest blockchain possible, and imagine we start the network and it stalls. That would be
Startup stuff, yeah.
quite ironic. So yeah, but that's hard to do, and hard to do in the beginning, also from the beginning, from the first block. Like if Solana would start with this, like they would not continue from like second block, I think. So we need to do a lot of work before actually. Usually, what people launch the network and then see like, and of course, it still can happen to us. Like it still can happen because you never know, like in real time scenario, happen. Because as much as we can test now on test networks and all of that, like we cannot get a test network of 2,000 validators. Like it just doesn't exist. It's just not possible, right? So some things can still happen. I hope they won't, but because of these requirements for the first day with a launch with all these users, then we need to be really, really careful and test as much as we can. So that's one thing that we're doing. And another thing, and organizing, of course, all the validators, which is a big pain in the neck. That's actually not something that you would not want to try yourself. Like it's better to build consensus protocol sometimes than to organize validation, but okay. Just to start the network. So anyway, and in parallel, we were working on our application, which is the actual game that people will play when they validate. So we started by introducing the Telegram mini app, and then we moved from mini app to the website. And now we actually, our next step is to moving to standalone application like Android, iOS, and Steam. And users, what they did, because it's okay, so I can say a few words about the game itself. It's a deck building game, right? It's kind of that part. So we started, and the decks are user generated. So we gave the users the possibility to generate these decks already like 6 months ago. And there are like a lot of them were generated. I can actually give you some numbers if you want. Like,
Sure.
1 second. Yeah, so like almost 6,000 decks with 2,100,054 decks delivered to users. So like unique decks, more than like almost 6,000 unique decks, because each deck, it's not that you can create a deck and immediately submit it. There is a competition between other users. So a lot of users create deck, but you need to win the voting of the user to actually for your deck to be actually issued. So through this voting mechanism up until now, yeah. This is like if you go to our app, like you see that's what basically what's going on. There's like a lot of every 24 hours, like there's a new kind of decks coming on board with the cards, puppets inside this. We call it puppets, right? So that's why puppet game. So each of these puppets is like a animated or picture, and users are voted for that by like tapping on it and so on and so forth. So these kind of things happening for the last like 6 months. So next is release the actual game. And we thought, okay, how should we release the game? Should we wait until the network starts and then release the game? And then latest decision, and we thought that was, right thing to do. But then because of the like how long it takes to actually launch the network and organize everyone and so on. So we said, okay, maybe we'll launch the game before. Actually, that will give us also the opportunity to test a lot of things inside the game and so on. So we said, okay, let's launch a network. And what's the best way to launch a network? Well, let's create a tournament with the real prizes. So we announced a tournament with like $100,000 in like cash prizes, $400,000 in nodes, and some other additional prices, like a lot of them. Now, in total value, I think it's about $1 million, all in all. And so we announced that tournament, about more than a week ago. And yeah, we got 33 teams already registered as the teams. You can play as individual, but you can also join a team. And teams has unlimited size, but only 5 top results in the team will count towards the team results. So there's kind of in parallel, two kind of competition going on, team competition and individual competition, prices on both of them, of course. And so, yeah, so like that, and then more than at the moment, it's almost like 400,000 users registered for the tournament, and we expect something like million, we hope, when the tournament starts, which sometimes in May. We didn't announce the final dates yet because like we wanted to see all this crazy thing, because we also need to organize for the tournament. Like we want to organize the commentary, like live commentary and all of that stuff. So yeah, it takes some time. We also go to partner with some esport teams, which I cannot talk about that yet, and some Web3 teams, additionally, like professional teams, to be participating in the tournament as well. So I hope it will be like big fun.
Yeah, sounds like it will. And thanks for sharing all these statistics. I don't know what to compare with it, but sounds like big numbers. And the prize pool is also a
Well,
pretty.
I think it's the largest prize pool in the Web3 for sure. It's it's pretty large even you compare it with the other card games prices like Magic the Gathering or even like the Hearthstone. It's still in the same ballpark, more or less. So yeah, I mean it's pretty, I think, nice.
Yeah, so and you dropped some teasers. So yeah, guys, a lot of big things are coming. Seems like if you haven't done it yet, so subscribe to Acki Nacki socials and stay tuned. And we'll do. And for this part, yeah, I think we discussed a lot of interesting things, at least in general. Maybe some of them will be discussed deeper in the future. So also let us know in the comments. And we came to the part of the podcast where we ask for just some general expert advice. And if you don't mind, Mitja, I'd like to know what are the Web3 trends you personally are following most closely right now. So I think it will be useful for our audience to know what to pay more attention to.
Yeah, I'll try. I mean, it's hard question, obviously, and it's like
Like
hard
maybe
to
the first things
predict,
that come to
particularly the
mind.
future, right? Yeah. Well, again, I think that like what I do, I always look if there is something beyond the thing, right? Like, so you have some, I don't know, meme coin or some new blockchain coming or some new project. I always look deeper into the technology. Is there any technology at all? Like, and when people say like, well, forget about that, it's a meme coin, you don't need a technology. Yes, okay, you may not need a technology, but in that case, you need a brand because like, right, brand has value, of course, and definitely like Trump coin has value because Trump is a brand.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so whatever this brand is, doesn't matter, but it is a brand. Like you can't, it is recognizable. So like think of that. Bitcoin also, like Bitcoin is a meme coin in a way. Like Satoshi Nakamoto is total meme. There is no person like that, right? So like this is a meme coin. I've been telling that for years. Like and that's what is great about that. I mean, people buy Bitcoin not because they believe like in ledger technology. Actually, like Bitcoin technology right now sucks big time, right? It's technologically not advanced at all at the moment, right? But everyone buys that because there is a brand, because it's established itself for years, right? So we believe, like people believe in that. And so yeah, so just try to like when you do Dior, like do your own research. It's not enough because like what research? Like what exactly you're doing when you're doing this research? You're looking at is there a lot of followers on Twitter? I, that's not the research. Like you need to look at what stays behind everything, like why it has an effect. Does it have a lot of users for some particular reason? What they produce, does it have product? What is the product actually? Like, it doesn't matter what the product. The product can be technology. The product can be uh, uh, just community. It also can be a product. Like product can be almost anything. The money is a product. So just go to the core.
Okay, sounds like a great call to the action, and this is what I actually expected to hear, asking another traditional thing about giving advice. So actually, you did it perfectly. So
Thank you.
uh, yeah, and uh, as it goes, so that is it for today. So thank you very much, Mita, for joining in a pretty positive and insightful podcast we have today. So thanks for our audience for watching till the end. So guys, thumbs up, comment if you want to know more about Acki Nacki or maybe some personal ideas of Mitja. So we got some very interesting philosophical approaches towards basis of crypto today. I think it would be interesting to discuss deeper in more episodes. So yeah, thanks again. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Max.
Thank you, Mitja. Bye bye, guys.